Hello, everyone. Welcome to this exciting interview. Today, we are thrilled to have John with us. So, John is a principal restoration economist, ecologist, and author of the book Ecosystem as Models for Restoring Our Economies. So, with decades of experience and a deep passion of ecological restoration, John has worked and on impactful projects across the America. So, thank you so much, John, for joining us today. So,
It's my pleasure.
yeah, so to start, could you please share a bit about your professional journey, starting with your early work in recycling and composting system and how it led you to your current role as a restoration economist and ecologist.
Yeah, thanks so much, Nick. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to this recycling meet event in March 17th.
Yes.
Boy, yeah, the career path, we never know exactly in the beginning what it's going to look like. And for me, it began, if I were to put a moment on it, it was a 1987 garbage barge. It was big news where a barge, I think it was 3,000 tons of garbage, left New Jersey shoreline looking for a place to put it because they were out of landfill space. And it made international headlines, and I was just graduating high school. And this became the ethos or the inspiration for the recycling movement in the United States. So I grew up, my dad helping me to learn how to recycle paper and cans. And after studying business, economics, and ecology, in my undergraduate work, my first job was, of course, then it was in the recycling industry,
Hmm.
and it was in Washington State, the northwest part of the United States, which then and now still has one of the best recycling programs in the United States. And so, yeah, from there, my career long, my lifelong pursuit has been to try to understand what are the most effective ways that we, as humanity, as nations, as communities, how we can have the fulfill our needs without jeopardizing the needs of others and without impacting the ecosystems that we rely upon. What does that look like? And that set me on this entire career path. I worked in recycling and composting programs and education for about 4 or 5 years. And then I got a graduate degree in ecological restoration. And I've been working in the ecological restoration space for almost 3 decades. And throughout that time, I continued to ask the question, what is the structure of an economy that would naturally support our most important social and environmental values and benefits? Yeah, and that's how I got here.
Oh, that's such an inspiring journey. It's amazing to see how your career has evolved over the time. So, speaking of your experiences, you have worked on restoration projects across North and South America. So, can you highlight a project that stands out for its impact or unique challenges?
Wow, that's a good question. They're all challenging, and I think they're all impactful. Restoring an ecosystem, a damaged system, is important, right?
Yeah.
Because we do, as humans, we have impacts to our landscapes, and the natural recovery process of an ecosystem over time is slow. And so the point of restoration is to speed up the recovery process, and that is really our mandate. And it can be challenging. I'd say one of the most challenging projects has been in Ecuador in a community called Malingua Pamba. It's about almost 13,000 feet or 12,000 feet in the Andes Mountains, where an extraordinary amount of soil erosion has been happening to the extent of undermining and breaking their water supplies as a community. So, working with Engineers Without Borders and a local nonprofit organization in this community of Malingua Pamba, for about 12 years. I've gone down several times to plan and implement some restoration projects to help restore the native plant communities on these erosive, very steep hillsides and to help secure the water for these communities. Very challenging in a lot of ways.
Okay, thank you for answering my question. My next question is about your book, Ecosystems as Models for Restoring Our Economies. Which has gained significant which has gained significant recognition. With motivate you, like what motivate you to write it, and what are the key takeaways you would like to like leaders to remember.
Yeah, Nick, good question. The book itself has been a great journey, I think, like every book, and it has a lot of information across ecological and economic disciplines and interviews from around the globe wrapped into this upcoming edition. So lots of fun. But why? It goes back to that question of, how can we have the greatest impact possible as individuals, communities, and societies for future generations, and really understanding the importance of our economic structure. So when I was in business school in the early 90s, for whatever reason, I took a few economics classes and my first ecology classes, and something struck me as being fundamentally, I won't call them analogies, but similar structures, what we call homologous, that our economies and our ecosystems are structured the same way. It just struck me, and I didn't know why. And I think it took a few decades of restoring damaged ecosystems and starting several businesses and nonprofit organizations to really feel like there might be some commonality to the structure of those systems. The Great Recession hit in 2007, 8, 9, and the failed Occupy Wall Street movement, where it still seemed that while humans increasingly are protesting the current global economic structure, there really, even according to economists, didn't seem to be any notable reason to understand why our economies are failing. What is it about them? It was that, which is, many decades of, I guess, challenges globally, and myself working in these industries that inspired me to deepen the research for this book, which includes, again, interviews all around the United States and several other countries, and try to present this in a way that helps us as a society understand how to restructure our economies to provide the benefits we seek.
Okay, that's wonderful, and thank you for sharing that. So, in addition, in addition to being an author, like you are also founded businesses and non-profit focused on sustainability. So, what insights or lessons can you share about merging entrepreneurial initiatives with ecological restoration?
Ooh. Boy, we could speak for a long time on that. I love working with other entrepreneurs, helping them become successful. And yeah, there is an entire book to be written about that. And of course, there are many books written about helping entrepreneurs be successful. And why entrepreneurs? Because the change we seek, the evolution of our economies, it happens with entrepreneurs who become successful, and they, as a body of individuals, industry by industry and sector by sector, they shape the future of our economies.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have any singular advice for any entrepreneur. I think it depends on the industry. Um, but maybe a couple of them are recognizing that there is so many great advances in technology and how we approach restructuring manufacturing and how we incorporate renewable energy and other factors that allow us in the coming decades to meet our needs locally and regionally because of this technology, because of our populations and our experiences with economics. We can actually do this in ways that has tremendous impacts, not only on energy efficiency, reducing carbon emissions, but even on things like regenerative agriculture to rebuild soils that sequester carbon, to provide food security for regions, and also to provide a system that naturally rewards recycling materials. I wrote an article, as you might be aware,
Yeah.
for the upcoming event that kind of poked fun at America to say, well, the reason why we have one of the worst recycling rates in the world is simply because we don't have to recycle, right? The current global market structure operates in our trade models, in our trade policies in this nation over the past 5 decades has increasingly made it such that we can import cheap virgin products from around the world. And so there's a disadvantage to our recycling industry that we want to support, right? And what
Mhm.
natural systems teach us is that the decomposition of materials, carcasses, feces, leaves, sticks, berries, fruits that fall on the ground, when that's reincorporated back into the system to build healthy soils, for instance, that decomposition function is essential to the health of the system. And just like in our economies, the recycling function is essential to the health of our economies. It adds to our gross domestic product. It allows us to use energy far more efficiently than extracting materials from raw ore, for instance. And it creates in the US, one statistic I see over and over again, recycling waste creates about 17 times more jobs than simply landfilling that waste. So yeah, I think these are very important. And again, that small businesses are essential to seeing these changes happen. And when we use economics as a driver for change, it creates business opportunities and helps to actually not degrade our quality of life, but ensure that we can maintain that quality of life into the future, which is expected to be one of the most turbulent times in our history.
That's a great answer. So, and thank you for answering that. So, my next question would be to you. Collaboration must also play a crucial, role in your work. So, what approaches or strategies do you use to ensure alignment among political, economic, or ecological entities?
Yes, very good question. I was surprised and glad you picked up on that. It's an intelligent question because I will start by saying one of the challenges to sustainability in general, especially in the United States, where we are so politically polarized, is that we cannot achieve a sustainable economy with just half the population, right? If
Mhm.
we just rely on, say, left-wing people who are advocates of social justice and environmental justice, while ignoring the economic and productivity needs of folks who position themselves on perhaps the right side of the scale, there's a conflict there, and we must find ways to work across the political divide and with people of every walk of life for sustainability to work. So, one of my angles in this book, and I think this is what nature teaches us, is that economics is actually a driver of these benefits. So I'm thankful to have had some really amazing experiences throughout my career in what we call stakeholder engagement. And some of these have come off after some of the most catastrophic emergencies we've experienced in Colorado, dramatic wildfires and dramatic floods over the years, where people are they're hurting. Their house just burned down or it got flooded. They've lost loved ones and they're trying to recover. And in the recovery process, the stakeholder engagement, some of the most important things we have to do is really sit down, involve those people who are impacted early in the process and work together with them to define the goals of what the project is or the program.
Mhm.
And through that, we go through these meeting processes where we always are tied to the goals, and we look at different alternatives for accomplishing a project or a program, and we always weigh that against the goals and allow people some time to express their knowledge, the concerns, etc. And we use that as an educational process as well to share important information that helps them understand how by meeting all of the goals we often are trying to balance multiple goals. This is what nature teaches us as well, is by meeting multiple goals, each goal is served better. and into perpetuity. Rather than trying to meet just one person's goal around the table, that doesn't last long. So we like to balance goals and involve stakeholders early so that we can engage and meet the needs of a diversity of people for a specific social or environmental or an economic program or policy.
Great. Uh, that's an insightful perspective, especially when dealing with diverse stakeholders. Thank you so much, John, for sharing your journey, insights, and vision with us. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you, and I'm sure our audience will take away a lot of valuable knowledge from this conversation. For anyone watching, don't forget to check out John's book and explore more about his impactful work. Thank you, John. And on the description you of this video, you guys will find out the link of John's book and the contact details.